to go, what to do?
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, so the location is 4211 Global Street, in an emergency. Call 911. We have an emergency. Or anybody do CPR, AED, answer over here. I'll lead everybody for an evacuation or an active shooter. If there is an active shooter, try to hide first, fight or flight. We do have to evacuate, we'll meet out front, just get a head count, make sure everyone's accounted for.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's none of us in the facility currently. Hopefully everything, it looks like very sunny and hot outside. No impending storm coming in right now. So hopefully we will be fine. All right. Well, with that, Mr. Guy, we'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. The safety housekeeping. Welcome to the, what month is this? The June Wayne County Utility Coordinating Committee meeting. We are small but mighty, and I do mean mighty, both in person and online. But that's the benefit of being up against a holiday week where hopefully folks are going off to enjoy a wondrous, refreshing vacation somewhere. So hope you're doing that. But we'll get started. We'll start with introductions. It's going to be brief. We'll just go around the room, and the folks online, you guys have dropped your contact information in the chat, and a reminder for those of us in the room, please sign in for record of attendance. And again, my name is Guy Smith. I'm with CES Group, and for some reason, folks allow me to chair this fine group. And so we'll go to my left.
Mark Worth, Dominion Energy.
What's next?
Matt Parsons, Lumen.
Ann Rushing, North Carolina 811.
Dave Holder, City of Raleigh.
Thomas Lynn, Dominion Energy, North Carolina. All righty. Anyone behind me? No. Okay. All righty. And I'm going to apologize in advance. I have a hard stop at 11:30, and Anne is kind enough, she will take it from there. So my apologies in advance for that. We have snacks in the room, and that is courtesy of Dominion Energy. So thank you for that. And even though we're small but mighty, anybody online or here in the room want to volunteer to provide lunch for our July meeting? Get that out of the way.
That would be July 25th.
July 25th. Anybody going to have any leftover July 4th goodies? You will? All right.
All right.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate that. And also, I'm going to, I promised Sandra Johnson, who is not here today, under threat of extreme discomfort, that to bring up our upcoming fall breakfast, our damage prevention breakfast. It will be held at the University Club, and the ever-present and infamous Mr. Justice Everett is our sponsor there at the club. I think it's called the University Club. It's the NC State University Club over on Hillsborough Street. We've had it there previously. It's an absolutely spectacular venue for a breakfast. They are more than accommodating. They do a fantastic job for us, and we're going to do that again. And we are looking for sponsors. I believe Lumen is tentatively committed, and we could get a sponsor from Dominion Energy. We'd appreciate that. And anyone else. USIC would make a fantastic sponsor, Robert. So anything that we could do. It's going to cost us about $4,000. So sponsors would be really, really helpful. We don't have a date specifically at this point.
If I look at the last Tuesday in October, everyone can wear their costumes that day, October 31st.
Well, there it is. So we can have a holiday damage prevention breakfast.
There you go. I think that would be super cool to be able to highlight on social media that everyone dressed up as professional excavators. And please invite your excavators.
Please do. Please do. Alrighty. So we got those two bits of, business out of the way. We'll jump on into our usual meeting format. Whole business, what's going on out there? What's happening? What's happening in the world of Lumen?
Big overbuilds.
Big overbuild.
Multi-state, we'll be starting one end of summer. It'll be starting in Charlotte. It's gonna be on the track, overbuild on that route.
Which route?
The route that runs with the track through Raleigh, it's on the CSX track.
Oh, gotcha.
That's through downtown.
Is that the Amtrak route?
That track route, yeah, okay. I think that's the Rocky Mountain. We start that here in a couple months, just waiting on fiber. Haven't had any damages. We've been using Stake Center as our contract with big company. They've been behind because of staffing issues, but we haven't seen any cuts or anything like that.
Fantastic. How about the city of Raleigh? David, you're always so quiet.
This business as usual, digging, repairing sewer lines, storm drains, just normal stuff. I guess.
Normal stuff. Anything major that's going on? You guys,
Not that I know, of, not
Okay.
at my level.
how about Dominion Energy?
So I can speak for the North Raleigh office.
Terrific.
Seems like the fiber projects have slowed a little bit. My office, we still get a few here and there, but they've shifted. Sure, they'll be back. For the month of May, we worked just over 6,000 tickets for company locators. Through Monday, we worked about 5,000. Through June, we've got about 47 damages year to date. That's just the North Raleigh office. Other than that, we're chugging along, same issues with updating the kids and just trying to communicate well with our excavators. But yeah, that's what I got for now.
Just opportunities for further education and your damages year to date. How's that compare year over year? How does that?
That's a good question. Usually we average, we're one of the larger offices, around 100, give or take, a year. So we're
Consistent. Okay,
overall, our damages are down.
fantastic. Like when that happens. All righty.
And last week, our tickets were down, except for the update tickets. So our update tickets were 40%.
And is that a trend, or do you think it's an anomaly with the holiday week coming up?
I have no idea why there were so few new tickets. But it probably was the rain.
Yep.
And then,
Yes.
Mr. Robert, I'm coming to you. What's happening in the world of USIC? Yes.
About Drew's on for
Okay.
USIC.
How about you, Drew?
Make sure they can hear us.
Looks like it's frozen.
That's what's happening in the world of excavators.
Hot.
Aside from it,
I've gotten here.
And rain.
aside from it being hot and some folks burying their biggest excavator they've got in their company and having to bring in tank removal equipment to get it out.
Who did that?
Wagner down in Charlotte. He buried it, absolutely buried it.
I'm good. That's the only way you get smarter in our business. You can't learn from other people's mistakes. You gotta make it yourself.
Gotta make,
Oh, gosh, no, it's just hot.
okay,
This is the first hot week we've had this year, and, of course, May was such an unusually mild month. Everybody's just gotta be on guard for heat stress. That's gonna come up. Everybody lives in air conditioning now. So just gotta be careful. And of course, probably in another year, North Carolina will have its heat stress standards that are gonna be part of OSHA's regulations about how you have to
stair step new employees into these situations. Yet to be seen how it's gonna affect payment.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's,
Just think about those.
seems like common sense, but, yeah, was, unaware of that there wasn't actual, OSH regulations regarding that.
They're not. I mean, you've got general, under the general duty statute, you have, the employer has certain responsibilities to provide a safe workplace environment. That's part of it. What's been lacking is heat stress parameters and what do you do when it's 90
Right,
and it's the first 90-degree day?
right,
And how do you handle that?
right.
And if you got a new hire that's been sweeping the floor at McDonald's in 72 degrees, then all of a sudden he's going to be in a 98-degree temperature environment. He's going to get, he'll have heat stress or he'll have heat prostration, pass out. Just happens, but they don't, their body's not accustomed to it.
Yep.
And you're not, your hydration process. is not accustomed.
No. So probably common sense, good thing, good regulation. We'll see how it develops and see how it impacts, like you said, paving, the roofing, concrete.
I know there's been a lot of contractor input into the process.
That's good. Glad to hear that. Is that through the ABC or? Yeah.
And Justice, this over like is it a 2 or 3 day period? I mean, there's so many,
No, it's like a 2 week.
2 week period. Okay. I knew it was like 15 minutes and then take them out and it's a stagger.
It's a stair step
Mhm.
thing that, and we have same preliminary regulations, but I don't keep that in memory until we get something filed.
Yeah, it's, like I said, it's common sense and good employers, good supervisors. Good leaders are going to recognize that and be aware of that. Those who are successful.
And unfortunately, those of us that are doing it already and have an acclimated workforce, will suffer some penalties and reduced work hours.
Yeah.
So, on the whole, everybody says our regulation difficult, but there have been just huge improvements in workplace safety during my, so I can't complain about it, although the past been difficult.
What within the industry has driven the request for that regulation? Have there been significant increases in?
Yeah, I do not have, I don't have.
So Guy, next
qualified
month, we have a video that we're going to show throughout the state. It is a rather long video, but it is a testimony, about an 8-minute video that I think you guys are really gonna enjoy, and it's gonna hit home about, heat stress and how, I mean, you can seem fine going out that morning and then within a couple hours, you can die from it. So we will be showing that. As I said, it's a little bit long, but I think it's worthy of that discussion, and I think it's timely with these standards.
Oh, yeah, and we've got last year we had a 19-year-old male. He had 2 Red Bulls for supper and a Red Bull for breakfast.
Yeah.
And
I said, no.
at 10 o'clock in the morning, he was almost into the heat prostrate.
Oh.
Mode,
Well, the reason I was asking the impetus, when I was with previous employer that was telecom infrastructure contractor, I received a safety memo from our workers' comp carrier indicating, and I developed a policy that banned energy drinks on the job because of that. And they saw an uptick in exactly what you're talking about, and they had a number of instances in the industry as a whole where otherwise healthy young men, specifically in their twenties, were going to the ER, being admitted to the ER while on the job due to cardiac arrest. And it was directly linked to the dehydration and the consumption of energy drinks at the time. This is 6 or 7 years ago now, but so I think people have gotten smarter about it. But yeah, it's definitely an issue out there in the construction field. So
So you got one eye looking left, one eye looking right.
Or roll back in their head and not looking at it.
Sitting in the air conditioning truck isn't gonna cure it. They just need to go to the doctor. Wow.
that is exactly right. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing that video. Again, this is, again, those who care, this has been just part of our protocol and, pay attention to that. Justice, his success is testament to that. So, but, there are those out there that, either through ignorance or desire for greater financial gain, don't pay close enough attention to it, and it can sneak up on you quick. I look forward to that. What else is happening? So Robert, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
All righty.
Talking on mute. But,
Cool.
yeah,
Okay.
so,
We're all knowing and locating what's going on.
yeah, I don't have anything new to add, other than the grant work is certainly keeping everyone really busy. And I think there's some people in the room and some maybe even online that can attest to that as well. But, yeah, the grant work, the RDOF, the Rural Development Opportunity Fund is keeping everyone super busy. I don't want to get too far outside of Wake County, but, there's several counties adjoining Wake County where we recently learned that we got a lot of work that's taking place. Very well may even come into Wake County, but the primary facility owner that's impacting that work is Lumos Fiber. But again, currently outside of Wake County, but we suspect at some point they will probably come into Wake County. But that's been a huge challenge for us because of the amount of resources that it takes to maintain pace with sometimes double-digit crews that are in a subdivision, right? Where sometimes they go in a subdivision of 500 homes and they're done in 2 days after we spent 3 weeks marking everything. So that's a challenge. To offset, we're continuing to hire, we're continuing to train, trying to get some folks on board. But again, nothing different than what I mentioned on the previous meetings. But we suspect that the grant money is really flowing, and we're starting to see a lot of folks out there putting in a lot of fiber at a very unprecedented level at this time, Guy.
It's going to continue for sure. No doubt about it. And bandwidth demand is growing exponentially. Only going to grow. All righty. What else we have happening out there? Who else we have? Who else can I pick on? And
Alrighty, let's look at our folks. Of course, we have Collier's Engineering on the call.
okay. I saw Robert Memory jump on.
David or Robert? Let's see,
Yeah.
did Robert? I think we lost Robert.
Did he leave?
David, anything new?
Hear me?
Yes.
Hey, yeah, I'm still talking about that Project Atlas, it's a project that we different layers, different issues. Development. Project development. Some of the layers being collected, wetlands, streams, protected species, environmental, resources, traffic, community, right-of-ways, utilities. Here at Colliers, we're tasked with collecting utility layers. One thing I like to mention in Wake County, talking about the rail line from Raleigh to Raleigh to Richmond. So, if there's anybody out there that would like to talk, about giving up some of their shape files for, that project in Wake County. not only in Wake, in St. Warren, Franklin, Vance counties.
Look at taking notes in.
There now.
So, hey, David,
Yeah.
you were kind of coming here and there. I do understand that you were talking about shape files around the rail lines. Is that correct? You're talking about the utilities within that area?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so within Warren, Granville, and Franklin counties?
I think that would be right.
Okay,
If there's anybody in the room who'd like to talk to me, tell me my name's in the. My name's in the list there. Just reach out to me however you want to. Your name's in there, phone number. Y'all know me in the room. Just, I think if you're gonna have to pay for your utilities to move, I think I'd be really out and they can develop around your utilities. That's what I'm thinking.
Project Atlas.
You know, and this is coming down the pike again. This is information that's on the street, but may not have trickled down to what we do here, boots on the ground. The Raleigh to Richmond Rail Project design is out there on the street. So that's creating high-speed rail capabilities from Raleigh to Richmond, express rail,
That's the third rail project, right?
parts of it.
We're big on that right now. In the Richmond.
Yeah, there's going to be significant relocations. They're doing at-grade separations at hundreds of intersections between here and Richmond. So we've seen that hit the ground, but it's going to start down at Raleigh Union Station and go all the way through Wake County on through. So
Not gonna move, relocate a lot, so that. That's the rail we're on.
it's going to be similar to what's happening on Blue Ridge Road near Hillsborough, you know, with the rail line. We saw that in other accommodations. That's coming. And also Capitol Boulevard, US 1 North 540 to Lake Forest. In the next 2 to 3 years, we'll see that start kicking up. It's in the preliminary design phases. There's some stuff coming down the road. So with that, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity. Again, I've got that hard stop at 11:30. But you want to jump into the discussion of the
sure.
bunches and bunches of
Yeah.
tickets?
So what I did for Guy was we have a report, it's called the top 200 callers. And I typically like to pull those because it does drive conversation about, you know, who's placing the most tickets within, you know, within those counties. I did pull that list and I know Guy's got a copy of it. Once we kind of get into the totals, you'll see the overall. ITS was the number one with 1,774 tickets during the month of May. Prince Telecom, they came in second at 1,528. RG Communications, 1,443. Pike come in fourth at 1,147. And I'm just going to go through the top 10. All Signal Solution, 1089. AT&T Utility Operations, 992. Moztec, 766. So certainly a lot of these folks are working for, you know, obviously the utilities. Diversified Utility Group, 755. Another AT&T Operations, 736. And then Ansco rounding out that top 10 for 730, you know, which they work for AT&T. So that's driving a good bit of the work here. I don't have a breakdown of whether they're new, you know, update tickets, but we will talk a little bit about that in our presentation about updates. So, is there anyone else online that has anything that you guys would like to discuss before I hop into the presentation? Michael, Michael Hooker, I see you're on. Do you guys have anything?
No, I don't think we have anything out of the ordinary that needs extra discussion. Kind of like Robert, same as usual.
I do see here that someone is asking, can someone share specific working around railroad safety measures expectations? Jay, I assume that's you that you're asking. You want to, can you chat about that, what you're specifically looking for?
Absolutely. I mean, it all goes down to that Hillsborough project, but our locators get a ticket. I think I reached out to you, Parrish. I
Yep.
reached out to a couple people. Reached
Yep.
out to the North Carolina Railroad Association as well. It kind of opens up a can of worms when you call them and say, "Hey, we're going to be operating around the railroad tracks." So we've
Yes.
always told our locators, if you are ever around a crossing, that it's fine. But we have some utilities that pass underneath railroads randomly in the middle of the woods, where old roads used to connect. We are only going to be locating just for a couple minutes, but that couple minutes is where there could be definitely potentially an accident incident. So yeah, we had a near miss about that. So just trying to get everybody on the same page. When we get locates to our locators, the tickets actually come in. It doesn't give points of contact to call for the railroad, whereas an excavator who puts in a ticket has that point of contact numbers, is my understanding.
Well, keep in mind, railroads are exempt. We do have the North Carolina Railroad that has chosen to be a member, just so that they can receive tickets and know who's, actually excavating around their facilities. So just a reminder, due to that exemption, they're not receiving those tickets. So please, reach out to them, let them know, because as you had mentioned, it only takes a moment, and next thing you know, that train's right up on you. I don't know if you want to go into a little more detail on that, or just to share that safety moment.
We were in that construction zone, again, just trying to get locate marks on either side of the railroad. But apparently being inside certain construction zones, there's some safety requirements, check-in procedures, different from, I mean, we have Norfolk, we have CSX operating, we have Amtrak operating in those lanes and those trains. So we've been instructed to kind of call those dispatch centers. But it kind of opens up a can of worms where they say you have to file work permits, but we're not working. We're literally requesting permission to cross a track to put paint on the ground. That is just kind of approaching a gray area that nobody's been able to give me some clear cut stuff.
Hey, Jay, this is Robert. I just saw your email. I responded. We do have our own internal training. To what level of vetting that training has gone through, I'm not for certain. I want to say we do, since some of our senior leadership are from former life was from CSX and Norfolk Southern. So I want to believe that has something to do with it. But one thing we encourage our technicians to do is generally, if there's a boring or any type of activity, we're going to be on site, right? Avoiding the foul of the track. But one thing we have had some incidents in the past, not involving a train per se coming down the track and we're potentially in harm's way. I think it was more so just making sure that we had proper PPE, safety glasses, hard hats, whenever we are in the railroad right away. That's something that we have been, I don't want to say cited, but been advised that, hey, next time you come back, I want to see X, Y, and Z. But I do know that some of our training does go into understanding of where to be, where not to be, and certain things such as certain hand signals as it relates to railroads. So we do go over that. So, but we've been very fortunate, Jay, to have any run-ins with the railroads that potentially run the risk of being shut down, so to speak.
Okay, thank you.
I could probably add on to that too, because
Make sure you speak a little louder, Jim.
I can add on to that too, because we have one of our main backbones that rides with the track. So we do railroad certifications with Norfolk Southern and CSX through I believe it's Rail Pros. If you go to railpros.com, you can get certified through them. What we recommend to our internal locators is to reach out to the contractors, because the contractors if they're crossing, doing any work along the railroad, they have to have a permit, and they'll have to have a flagman on site if they're gonna be doing any work around the railroad, and try to schedule your locates to be done around the same time as the flagman being on site. That way the flagman's there and they can tell you when the trains are coming, so you're safer there, and you're not trying to market by yourself.
So railpros.com?
They do CSX, Norfolk Southern, Coastal, they got a whole bunch of them.
Drew, I see you're on the call. Is there something you want to add to that, being that was your background? Okay. I reckon not. I may, and that piece still on there. Okay. All right. Jay, did that help you any there?
It definitely did. Yeah, I mean, dealing with the contract that puts in the ticket. But sometimes, yeah, we don't really see that information or
Right.
use it. I've already met with CSX on some of their lines. I'm waiting for Norfolk to call me back, but yeah, it opens up that form that was just mentioned. They said you have to put in a work permit, and we're not usually accustomed to putting in our own work permits to put our own tracks or mark our own utilities.
Jason, would you be a good contact for him to chat about that?
Matt,
I mean, I'm sorry, Matt. I'm sorry, Matt.
yeah, I can.
Double Matt's for Lumen. So Jay, I can send you Matt's information,
Perfect.
and that way you guys can connect maybe offline since you've got that main line running there. Sounds good. Sorry, Matt. I don't know why I called you Jason. All right. Anything else from anyone? Trevor, you have anything to add? I know you
I
were
wish I did.
damage prevention's all well in the world and Wake.
Yes, I would say so. We're actually, July is going to be a very busy month with some of our, we've got a few classes scheduled for with our fire pit
Yeah.
facility. We've also got a number of other arrangements in place to visit some companies at site. So, yeah, things are active.
And you guys are doing the fire pit training tomorrow, like with some of the contractors?
Yes, this is with some members of the city of Raleigh.
Okay, great.
This week. We've got some other third-party contractors that have expressed an interest in it as well.
Super. Nice. Mark, anything for you?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, I will hop into our presentation, and please feel free to raise your hand or ask any questions as I'm into our presentation. All right. So with that, here we are in June. We're just right around the corner. I don't know about you all, but I've got some plans for 4th of July. Hopefully it's not going to rain, but we'll certainly see. And of course, it is already July. It just seems like, I don't know about you all, but I think this is the first year that we've actually had a spring to where it didn't feel like we went straight from winter into summer. So it's been really nice. In the last couple months, we have provided hot topics that seem to be consistent around the state from our liaisons. And as you see here over in the western part of the state, and I know Mark spends a good bit of time over there too as well. One of the things that seems to be an issue is timely communication. I mean, that's key across the whole state, is trying to get people to communicate to each other. It's really interesting that we have become such a conduit for that communication. And so what we're really trying to do is to get out of that loop and for the contractor to be able to talk directly to the member utility. So how we're doing that is just encouraging folks, come to the UCCs, get to know the members, get to know the locators, get to know the contractors. Over in the Southeast, and of course, this is Tammy's area. communicate with each other by attending the UCC meetings, as I just spoke about. Out east where Howard is at, he just wanted to remind everyone to populate the positive response for your locate tickets. Justice being one of our board members, you know, that's one of the items that's presented to the board is to provide positive response percentages. And that always seems to be, you know, kind of consistent for the last couple of years, high 80%. And then there's those few that are just not populating those positive responses. So just want to remind you of that. There's, you know, multiple ways to do that. And then pre-con communication is key. In my years working with a municipality, that was common. I mean, that seemed to be every time we had a project, there was always pre-cons. You know, the utilities, the locators, the inspectors, anybody, DOT, anybody that had, you know, that was going to have a touch point to that project, we had pre-con. So I can't encourage that enough. And especially now we're talking about all these projects and this rail system, there has to be good communication.
The failure to enter a positive response. Is this people that have put flags or paint, or is this people that are just ignoring the ticket?
A little of both. We do have small members that are actually, you know, providing, you know, marks on the ground or flags, and they're just not populating the positive response. And so we do have many ways to do that, whether you are tech savvy or you're not. You know, whatever you need, we're going to certainly work with you to accommodate that. And then there are those members. Lewis has done a little bit of surveying and done some digging in and analyzing some of the data. So I feel sure we're probably going to talk a little bit about that at the LRPC, some of those members. Pardon me?
These folks that are working off of paper tickets?
It could be, yeah. Typically, it's going to be your smaller members. You know, it could be your water sewer authorities, you know, smaller members of that, but it's not always the case, you know.
What is it? It just goes 999?
Absolutely. That's what it will go. And so we'll begin to look at those, and then our member services works directly with our members. And so that's one of their touch points, is just to remind those members, hey, your responsibility is to provide that positive response back to, as well as it is the responsibility of the excavator to check it. So just throwing that out there, you know, please check with your people, you know, to make sure that these positive responses are populated. What we tend to see is when those are not done, then we tend to see our 3 hours go up or our retransmits. So just want to make everybody aware of that. The Piedmont Triad area updates on jobs without permits, that still seems to be an issue. And we'll talk a little bit more about the update tickets, but please, you know, if you do not have your permits, you're waiting on those, do not dump all these tickets into the system. For those that are really working actively and want to keep their jobs going, it's really important that people are communicating and all the permits are there. The fiber overbill projects are calling in large job tickets. And we just talked about that, multiple drill crews, they move into an area to install fiber, and they're in and out, you know, in 3 weeks, but it's overloading these smaller utilities. There's just not enough staff to be able to handle that. So once again, communication is the key. Let's have those pre-con meetings. Let's talk about a plan. How can we get you started and keep you moving? So once again, can't stress that enough. Any questions, comments on that? What I have provided to you all today, and this is a piece of education that actually came out of our CGA. I've got where you signed in at. It is over there, and of course it's online. We're showing that too. The front page here is the CGA communication that we created within our committee, because this is not just an issue here in North Carolina. It is literally across the nation. how can we make the 811 system more efficient? And there are just major topics that we can focus on how excavators can help. So I will kind of briefly touch on that, and then I want to talk about some of the tips that we have here, I think, locally in North Carolina. You know, quality information is key. Absolutely. We had some conversations the other day, you know, the person that's placing the ticket needs to provide good field contact information. That is number one. We need that specific dig area, and I guess my best analogy is put yourself in that position as a locator. If you're going out and you're trying to find that specific dig area that you gave the system or to the CSRs, can you find that? And so we need to be as specific as possible. If you're not, please white line it. And we are really, once again, continuing to push that, reminding folks to please white line. That helps the locators get to the job, do their job, and move out quickly. Once again, the correct contact name and phone number and a detailed description of the work being performed. Please make sure that your information does match what you're wanting so that the locators are not having to guess or figure out what's going on.
They have to locate the word,
Right.
even if it is white.
And it's obviously a judgment call. So make sure the white lines, if you are matching the description. That seems to be a big issue. Give sufficient notice. I know the system requires, you know, response within 3 working days, but if you can provide up to, you know, 12 working days for notice of your work, that will certainly help, you know, the locators maybe prioritize, you know, if for some reason, you know, they can't respond within those 3 days, then you're not sitting there waiting to dig. You've given yourself some buffer. And then, you know, stop locates that are not on completed jobs. So if you're in a holding process, you're waiting on equipment, you know, for some reason or another, you're waiting on something, please do not continue to dump more updates into the system. On the backside, and I know you folks online cannot see that, but we do have some tips, and damage prevention, you know, is a shared responsibility. So yeah, so if you can see that. We talk a little bit about near tickets. So when you're on the job site, you can pull your app out and see who else is working around you. We talk a bit about private lines and what is going to get marked and what's not. And, you know, there's tons of private lines out there, on top of the public white lining, how important it is, and then all the resources. We do have a QR code that's going to lead you directly to an area on our website that will help you to learn the safe digging process. So once again, this is an education tool. We would love nothing more than to share some of these with you, to put them in. I mean, I know just looking at you, Trevor, you know, feel free to grab some because you're, you know, certainly part of that whole damage prevention program. So some of the tickets are, or excuse me, the tips are to allow your ticket to expire. Okay. If you're not, if your work suspends, once again, you're waiting on a piece of equipment or you're waiting on, you know, materials to come in, but you're continuing to update, it just overloads the system. So one of the things that we want to remind you is the original ticket is held on our live server. Okay, so at NC 811, that ticket is within the live server for on average about 90 days. Okay, so if your work suspends and it's in that 90-day period, it's still going to be in the live server in the system. Then you can go back, and if you're within that time period, your work starts back up, go grab that ticket, that last ticket you had. As long as the work is not going to change, you can grab it and you can update it. Okay, so, you know, that might save you, you know, maybe you're waiting 3-4 weeks, you know, for something, or or some of these people like now that have dumped tickets in but are waiting on permits. We really, really need you all to help because it's not going to get less busy. It's going to continue to go more tickets into the system. So if it's outside of that date, outside of 90 days, and you know, now you're ready to start after that period, then you need to create a brand new ticket. If it's one or two things, one outside that 90 days or the scope of the work has changed. Okay. So those are some tips that we're really hoping that you guys can really focus on. Please, if you need this, you know, just this slide to maybe share at a tailgate meeting or just one of your internal meetings, feel free to reach out and we'll provide it, and or you can grab it on the NCUCC website. Any questions on that? I mean, we find this, you know, one of utmost important. We continue to preach this at the LRPC. We continue to meet with some of the contractors that, you know, may present with a lot of tickets, but yet we're trying to work with them continually to make the system work more efficiently. All right, so moving on so that we can take a little bit deeper dive into our locates. As you see here, for the month of May compared to the same time last year, we are up 6.7%. So where we landed for May of 2023 was 232,891 locates. That was compared to about 218,000 last year. So year to date, we are up 8.5%. Currently, we are already through May at almost 1.1 million tickets. And the same time last year was 1,013,000. So we are, you know, we are already at 1.1 million. Now, I would like to add that the updates were, you know, since we're talking about updates, at 30.5% of the volume in May was all update tickets. 30.5. Now,
Probably the lowest month.
compared to April, we are actually down 0.5%. So that's a good sign. Hopefully with the education around these update tickets, you know, we'll continue to work on those. You know, this has been, I don't know, what, 5+ years we've been looking at update tickets. And, you know, back even when we thought it was bad at 28%, now it's inching up, 31, 32, you know, coming back down to 30.5. So hopefully we're making some progress. All righty, so let's look at transmissions. On average, we're still at about 5.4 transmissions per locate. For month to date, for May, we ended out at 1.2 million. Last year, we were at 1.1 million. So we're still, you know, 6.9% up. Year to date, 5,928,000. And then the same time the year before, we were at 5.5 million. So lots of transmissions. Just want to remind you guys, once again, every transmission that goes to a member, they're being charged for it. So the more noise we can take out of the system, ultimately it trickles down to all of us as consumers. So let's kind of jump down into a snapshot of Wake County. As you see here, the new ticket volume, 18,899 new tickets. So it's just slightly up 3.3%. The updates are up 16.1%. And then typically your 3 hours is going to correlate with, you know, with your updates, and that's up 11.8%. Overall, we are up 7.9% on the overall tickets. So average locates per day, 1,399. Probably, you know, by July, August, you're going to start seeing 1,500, 1,600 average locates per day. It just gets busier and busier, especially during these summer months. Any questions on the county volume? our year to date, we are at, 141,022 tickets. So altogether, that is your total, but you do see a slight decrease for the overall new tickets year to date. And then, huge increase in the 3-hour. Update tickets, 17.5% increase. And so, average locates per day, 1,346. When we break it down of where that volume is coming from, the majority, of course, for the month is coming, here in Raleigh, 12,034. Then we have Cary, Apex, Garner, Fuquay-Varina, Wake Forest, Wendell. So a lot of the major work that's going on, and I'm sure you'll see a slight shift, come next month. Yes, sir.
Do you guys have a recommendation on how to close out the canceled tickets?
So if it's still within, well, are you canceling obviously within that 3-day window?
Well, I'm not canceling. I'm getting the,
Mhm.
I'm the locator.
Okay,
I've got the original ticket and then still on my screen. Then I get cancellation that comes in. So I I haven't worked it yet. I've got both tickets. Just wondered if there was a recommendation on how to get rid of it.
so that's going to be within the current web TMS system? Okay, then certainly we'd probably want to connect you with the member services. It should automatically just cancel it out on your end. And
It's
then,
on the new system as well, but it doesn't.
okay,
And the same question for the reported damage tickets.
Mhm.
Is there a recommendation on how to close those out?
I mean, just put some sort of response, that, there's no conflict or any of that. Cause I'm assuming are they sending you an emergency ticket for damage?
No, so the reported
Okay.
damage tickets.
Okay, just a reported damage.
Notification about a damage, but we still have
Yeah.
to close it out, and we're obviously not gonna put a 10 or a 20.
Right.
Because we're not actually
Sure.
locating anything, so I didn't know if there was a
It,
code.
my understanding is on those reported damages, it does not matter. You
Okay.
do not have to, whether you do or don't, it's not gonna reflect on anything on the damage tickets. Now, if it's an emergency locate to repair, absolutely. So, have you guys landed on your software yet?
We have a delay.
Yes, yes. As a reminder, the web TMS is into lifing by October. So, multiple opportunities out there, other vendors. Certainly if you choose not to go with one of the project management softwares, then you will receive your tickets via email. And that could be very cumbersome if you're a large utility. So, so we're super excited, about being able to assist you all and help. But yeah, that should not make a difference on your damage tickets. Speaking of damages, the damages for the month of May. Now Parrish provided this presentation to me with your slide, and I think he's picking on, Wake a little bit compared to MEC, kind of laughing at MEC in the fact that they had 212 damages compared to 158 that was reported. Just want to remind, especially the members, we do have Dirt Light. If you members damage your own facilities, we do have that ability for you to provide your information to us through Dirt Light. Okay, so every bit of the damages are going to go straight up to CGA, and these numbers do reflect that, the reports to CGA as well, to the dirt. So 158, and certainly we know that they're unreported damages as well. Some of the events, we've already been through June, June 13th. The Honey Hunters was postponed due to extremely bad weather. And we were out at Bowman Gray Saturday before last. Beautiful weather, lots of racing fans, and that was a partnership with Piedmont Natural Gas. And then Mark and Parrish were at the North Carolina Football Club Saturday. So we rounded that one out. And then just as a reminder, we will host the state UCC meeting here July 11th, and that will be here at Dominion Energy. So I hope you all, pardon me. You know what? Oh, I'm sorry. Concord. I apologize. Dominion Energy down in Concord.
900 games. Less than.
No. No, we could not get participation, so no. So we're trying to reschedule that Honey Hunters game, and we encourage you, if you're down in the Gastonia area, that's a beautiful little facility down there. We are reminding folks that 811 Day is right around the corner. We do have an area on our website, and we'll share it again next month too, just to remind you there's awareness kits out there. There's social media that you can share on your channels as well. So please go out, feel free to use any of those resources to highlight 811 Day. We'll be doing interviews with some of the local radio, TV stations, and we will be at the Charlotte Nights, I think, around that day, and possibly working with Colonial at Discovery Place, doing some stuff too as well. All right, well, with that, just as a reminder, Parrish is your liaison. I know you miss him today, and I'm not Parrish, but with that, for those of you fathers, I do want to, say happy belated Father's Day. Thank you to all of you for what you do for your families and as the leaders of your households. Just a reminder, a copy of the presentation I will post out on the ncucc.org, and you are welcome to go grab that if you would need it. So with that, I will stop presenting, and does anyone else have anything else to share? So it looks like a fairly quick meeting today. Anyone online that has any thoughts, comments that you would like to share before we close out?
And
Yes.
I so I did want to kind of go back and maybe get a little bit more into the weeds about about the white lining. And I thought I heard someone say the words are over the white line. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, what
The locators
where
obligated to follow the word.
yes,
Not the white line.
the remarks, the description in the locate ticket versus the white lining.
If you have, if the locate says, entire property, both sides of the road, and you have an area white line in the middle of the front yard, the locator is obligated to locate the entire property, both sides of the road.
If that's your policy.
Okay. That's, well, it hasn't become a significant issue for us in particular yet, but hopefully it doesn't. But that just kind of, is that something that can be looked at, or is that just something set without any chance of changing it? Or, because.
Are you talking about mandatory white lining, Michael?
Well, if you're saying you gotta go by that example he just gave was a good example, and majority of the time the ticket's description does not match. Like it'll be an example of what he just said. You may see some white lining that's only on one side on that property, but the ticket says mark a half a mile.
One of the big concerns there is that the white marks might be for something else.
But am I not? Is it?
Go ahead.
No, so I could be wrong here, but I thought we were supposed to be labeled, like the utility owners are supposed to label their locates. Are the companies not supposed to label the white lines?
They should, but I don't think there is anything saying they have to.
So yeah, that it just says in the law, if you cannot adequately describe white line. Now, we created a white lining video, when I say we, NC 811, and that kind of came out of LRPC. Those were best practices based on CGA, APWA color code standards, so forth. but that is a video that we have that you're welcome to share. But the law says if you just can't adequately describe, then you are to white line. Now, the operator identity, absolutely, you're required by law to provide that information once you mark.
Now, I would like to add though, if a company puts in mark the entire property, that's not adequate enough information of where they're doing work.
Sure wish it wasn't.
I mean, it's one thing if it's a house, there are only so many areas they can do, but a lot of times, when they put in mark the entire property, they're talking about an entire shopping center or entire complex.
Yeah.
And to me, the description of locate an entire property is not adequate. So, but you're saying because they have it, we're required to mark the whole property.
It's your judgment call. I mean, the law is what it says. I mean,
There's an underground damage prevention review board that's probably dying to hear something like that
yes.
to help
Yeah.
decide.
And, you know, obviously, I mean, I know we've had this conversation a ton. Certainly, if you've got a repeat offender or an offender that our liaisons can reach out to, or we can tag team together to reach out to that contractor to help them understand the confusion that it causes. Certainly, we're welcome.
No,
We're welcome to provide that.
I have to say, I haven't really had an issue with the contractors itself on it because, you know, we will communicate with each other. All right, you only need this area. However, their biggest complaint when I talk to them about it is they're putting it online and they can't find an accurate checkbox that doesn't mark the entire property. And that's what they complain about all the time.
Please get me a ticket and let us take a look and see where they're, you know, where they're trying to place that. Are they doing a single address ticket? And if that's the case, then it's very simple. It's only one single address and it's a series of drop down boxes that they can choose. They cannot add additional remarks.
I've never actually, well, that's the thing is additional marks usually say follow white lines and I'll follow the white lines, but it still says on the ticket, mark entire property. So there's nothing to not take, to take off, mark entire property.
It sounds like they're probably using the RTE system. And obviously our RTE department's gonna do random audits, or if they're a new user, they're gonna 100% follow them until they feel confident that they're doing a good job. And so part of that training is just to remind those users, hey, make sure, you know, you clear out your screen before you create the next ticket. So that could have been something that was from the prior ticket. I mean, who knows? But if
I'm only taking the word for it because I actually have never, I've never automated entered a ticket, so I don't even know what they're looking at. So.
Gotcha.
It sounds like he's referring to an occasion where, I mean, much of the time you think single address ticket, you're probably thinking residential application. But if it's a commercial application where it's actually a campus, but you've got a single address,
right,
then that might be where.
So they're in the wrong section, in other words.
Well, I mean, no, I mean, single address ticket can be used by anyone. When we, I will say, I think when we initially created the, you know, the application, we thought that it would be used more by the homeowner, but what we found is contractors are probably obviously using it more. So if it's simple, something, you know, hey, I'm doing something at this single address, then utilize it. But in Trevor's situation, in a contractor that you've got a huge campus, absolutely. Or I've run into a situation where a residential apartment complex had one address. And so, no, we do not want them utilizing it for that.
And I think a lot, there's quite a few people are using the single ticket for that.
I'll make that note, and, you know, obviously these are, it's clean pass-throughs, but if I will follow up with member service to see if we're, you know, experiencing any of that.
And like I said, is when you, when I contact most of these guys, I don't have a single problem. They'll narrow down what I'm marking. But obviously, I'm not marking the entire property like the ticket says. I'm only marking what they need. Because they're working with me on it, but it's just not how the ticket comes across.
Well, the law does allow. With that single address, it doesn't,
Problem until something gets hit,
yeah,
you know.
it's not a problem till it's a problem.
Right.
If you and the excavator have an alternate marking schedule, that's fine.
Yes,
Documented marking schedule, that's
absolutely.
fine. That's-
Yes, you can use it. And, the law does not disallow it on that single address where it does exceed the quarter of a mile. You can do it, but it does come with communication. Absolutely. So, thank you. Good conversation there. All right, anything else? Well, with that being said, let me go back and just kind of cover, our next meeting will be July 25th. I think we do have a lunch sponsor. Mr. Negrin said that he would be happy to do that. So for those of you that may be online and did not show up, July, there will be food. So we hope to see your beautiful faces in person. And just as a reminder too, and Justice, I know you were a little bit late popping in, but Guy went over the damage prevention breakfast, and I assume that you are facilitating the use of the university club. So Sandra did ask that if if we can start working on sponsors, and has she spoken to you about coordinating that and
We've been
scheduling?
in conversation, yeah.
Perfect.
And we're coordinated with the event planner there.
Nice.
It's gonna be October the 31st, I think.
So we're perfect day to come dressed up. Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
You can have all kinds of paper on things like ghost farm.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one. Go smart. Ooh, there will be some good, that's a good thought to see how we can push participation by some sort of unique, costume that you may come, other than being just dressed up as an excavator, right? So, all right, so super. All right, well, if nothing further, folks, thanks for all of you guys that are online. And 12:12, pretty quick meeting. All right, you guys have a blessed day.
Thanks, Ann. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ann.
You're welcome.
Recording.